Good morning, Malika. It's always nice to see you.
You too. I know you have been extremely busy. New mayor of Evanston. You've been doing quite a bit here in Evanston. And then we get hit with a couple hurricanes.
Yeah.
Yes. Goodness gracious. So
I'm not getting much sleep these days. That's true. That's true.
Every time I see you, I was like, Lord, I pray for this man because that's a lot of work, a lot of pressure. How are you coping with all of that?
You know, you'd be surprised how much energy, each of us can muster within, and when the adrenaline kicks in. And, we've been helping communities prepare for and recover for disasters for 16 years. Since I started this business, I was doing it 8 years before that. And so when a big disaster strikes, you kick it in. And, and so that adrenaline is flowing. We want to make sure that we are ready to help the communities down in Texas and Florida recover. We have some existing contracts and people that are already starting to help with the recovery, and it's likely we'll have many more as the months progress, and communities there need the expertise of a company like ours to make sure they get all the federal funding that they're entitled to under these federal disaster programs. And we're talking a lot of funding that the federal government will have to give to help these communities rebuild.
So how does your company prepare? How do they jump into action when you hear that the hurricane is on the way? How does all that work?
So there's two things. One is more and more communities around the country are putting in place standby contracts, and those standby contracts can be either for preparedness services or recovery, or a combination of the two. We hold a bunch of those standby contracts with different clients throughout the United States, with the Houston Metro system, so the transportation system in Houston, with the Florida State University system, with the state of Georgia, with the state of South Carolina. We have a couple of contracts with the Houston Galveston area and in the Miami area. So we are constantly preparing with clients that we already have existing contracts with, talking to them before the disaster strikes, when it's a noticeable disaster. Hurricane's a noticeable disaster. Then you have no notice disasters like an earthquake. You can't predict when that's going to happen. So in this case, with the hurricanes coming down, we talk to our clients. We find out, hey, do you need any of our professionals in your emergency operations center to help? And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And then the big thing that we have to do after a disaster is we have to recruit a lot of resources, multidisciplinary resources, from accountants to civil engineers to insurance specialists to environmental specialists that we get on board. And we're doing that now. We've had over 2,000 people apply to our company within the last 2 weeks since Harvey. It's incredible how many people just here in Evanston have become aware of what this company does and have brought forward people who want to help.
Okay, now one of the things people are very concerned about is the sending the cash, and we've heard the stories of Red Cross.
Yeah.
So I have friends from Haiti, and they said do not send your money to Red Cross, because when they had their disaster, all of that money that was raised, millions of dollars, only 6 homes were actually built in Haiti. And I helped coordinate a fundraiser for a friend of mine from Haiti, and that was what they were talking about on stage. And I was like, really? He was like, yeah. He was like, never donate to.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
So the Red Cross is an amazing organization. Let's just start there, right? All the sheltering that we all witness on TV after these disasters, and they have 10,000 people in a shelter. That's not easy to do. My company does a lot of the shelter planning before disasters. How are we going to set these up? The Red Cross facilitates that and manages that. The Red Cross does a tremendous amount of positive work after disasters. There will always be stories, that you will hear. I don't know enough to know the validity of those stories. When 3 disaster relief or emergency relief organizations have been identified. One is Team Rubicon, okay, which is this great organization that puts together former ex-military and civilians that are really doing response-related type work. I mean, that's the work that's going on right now, is the health and safety. We've talked a little earlier about recovery. That's to come, okay? And that's the work that my company does. But the actual, health, life, safety work, that's going on right now. Organizations like Team Rubicon are very, very good at it. So that's an option if people want to give to that and not the Red Cross. The other option is Rotary International, which is headquartered right here in Evanston. They have a disaster relief fund. I think the deal that President Trump cut to say, hey, you know what, we're not going to fight over disaster aid. We're going to get initial disaster aid. And so he basically had to side with the Democrats on that. I think there are a lot of Republicans that would support that, but certainly the far right Republicans, have issues, and they say, well, what about the deficit in this country, and shouldn't we offset the billions of dollars we're going to spend in Texas and Florida to rebuild right now? And the president is saying, hey, we're going to deal with that later. Right now, we need to help the people that need help. So I think that's a really positive position that the president and the administration have taken.
And what do you think is his issue with climate change? Because clearly there's something going on.
I mean,
what is that?
Yeah. I'm not a mind reader. I have no idea. All I know is, me personally, I have a tremendous amount of respect for professionals in all sorts of fields, and there's, near, unanimous consent that climate change is real. Yes, so there's some folks, out there that say, hey, it's not on some scientific basis. Yes, there are. But the vast, vast majority of scientists who study this say that climate change is real. I think we have lots of examples of this with, the types of disasters and the rising sea levels. As the government, the federal government, is spending billions of dollars to rebuild the public infrastructure and hopefully get people out of the floodplains, okay? Every time a disaster happens, we try to move people out of the floodplains. Really difficult issue to do, and it affects communities at a very, very core level. But as we rebuild, the government is putting more and more money into resiliency, meaning we're going to build back stronger, and we're going to, build flood walls where we need flood walls to protect assets. And what I can tell you is that in Houston, and more will come out about this, I believe, there was a terrible tropical storm back in 1999 called Tropical Storm Allison. It caused billions of dollars of damage to the Texas Medical Center. That medical center, this time around, I'm told, fared pretty well, which means that all that mitigation and money that we spent on resiliency to make that facility stronger, because it's a critical facility, right? Any kind of healthcare facility is absolutely important that we protect, particularly after a disaster when people are going to need emergency medical care, and that fared well.
Thank you so much for your time, Mayor Hagerty. I know you are extremely busy these days, and you don't look stressed. But you are in our thoughts and prayers with everything that you're doing for people in Houston, Miami, everywhere, and of course for Evanstonians.
Thank you, Malik. It's always nice to spend time with you.
Okay, thank you.